Ahmad. Welcome again to the people who have been regular and for the people who are now stopping by. We almost finished what we had started, where the tonight, two things I would like to remind you of is that the every action that we do is judged by the conclusion of that action. Okay, every action we do is judged by the conclusion of that action. This is a hadith from the Prophet Muhammad SAW. So do not be in despair. Okay, do not be in despair that the 10 days are coming, and I don't like how I have acted or what I've accomplished in this month. Be positive, because you have some more days to complete the month of Ramadan. So have hope, and the completion of an action is also what is important. So you do not faint away in the last leg of the exercise that we had embarked upon from the first day of Ramadan to where we are right now. So re-energize your intention to accomplish the aim and the goal of this month. Also, the Prophet ﷺ in a hadith that he used to perform itikaf in the last 10 days of Ramadan. And the year before he died, he performed 20 days in itikaf. On the last day he died, in the last period before his death. Okay, the Ramadan before he died, he did 20. So he went in before the 10, and he included the 10 in as part of his seclusion. So this is what one of his wife, I think is Aisha radiallahu an, said. Now this month is a month of the Quran. So we are going to look at some hadith about the Quran and how to revive our relationship with the Quran. As Muslims, we should have a strong relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Some people know more about this scholar and that scholar on the internet. Okay, they know about this lecture and that lecture, but they themselves do not have a personal relationship with the Book of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And it is very, very important that we have that relationship with the Book of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Now, the Quran by itself is a rank, and it's an elevated rank that you can achieve. Aisha, may Allah be radiallahu anha, may Allah be pleased with her, narrated that the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, one who is proficient in reading the Quran, in reciting the Quran, is associated with the noble the pious, and the scribes. As for he who stammers when reciting the Quran and find it difficult for him to to recite the Quran, he will be granted a double reward. So Aisha narrated to us that our Prophet Islam said, one who is proficient, he knows the tajweed, he knows the intonation, he knows everything about as regard the Book of Allah and his recitation. That person is associated with the noble, the righteous, and the scribes. The noble angelic beings. Okay, the angelic beings who cannot do anything wrong, and the scribes. They are angels who write down our deeds, and they are angels who write down the will of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that is going to be implemented. And as for the person who is not proficient, as the Prophet ﷺ said, he stammers or he makes mistakes, and he finds that the recitation of the Quran is difficult for him. That person will be granted a double reward. So there are levels and ranks associated with recitation of the Quran. So Islam leaves out no one. The person who is proficient, he knows the rules, he knows the book, he'll be on a different level. The person who has difficulty, he pronounced a word wrong, or he forgot part of the rule, or he doesn't do it properly, or he find difficult, sometimes he mix up the letters and he makes up proper pronunciation. You see, but he continues to read and recite the book. He'll be granted a double reward for his effort. Abdullah ibn Amr ibn al-As radiallahu anh reported that the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, the person who was devoted to the Quran will be told on the day of resurrection, recite and ascend in ranks as we used to recite when you're in the world. Your rank will be at the last verse you recite. So on the day of Qiyamah, the person who was devoted to the Quran will be told, Iqra, read. And the more he recites of the book, he will ascend in rank. He goes up and up in rank. Recite as he used to recite when you were in the world. So he'll recite all that he knows until the very last verse. So every ayat he rises until the last ayat he recites. If he knows the whole book and he reaches Malikun Nas, okay, then he will go up to the amount of Quran that he knows. Uthman ibn Affan, may Allah be pleased with him, narrated that the Prophet of Allah sallallahu said, the best person among you are those who learn the Quran and teach it. The best among you are those who learn the Quran and teaches it. So there's excellence in your efforts to learn this book, to recite it, to ponder on it, to go after its meaning, to go after its understanding, to get the secrets of the book. You know, when Allah opens your understanding and He teaches you by the book, but you do not stop there. You teach the Quran to teach what you know. I always say this: teach what you know. If you know 5 ayat and you understand it, teach it to somebody. Because there's blessing and there's rank and there's elevation in the sights of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for people who do this. The Quran is a treasure of good deeds. Abdullah ibn Masud narrated that the Prophet Muhammad said, whosoever recites a letter of the book of Allah will be considered or credited with a good deed. And a good deed is multiplied into 10 or by 10. I do not say that Alif, Lam, Mim is one letter. No. Rather, Alif is one, Lam is one, and Mim is one. So for every single letter, like for example, in the word Bismillah, Ba, one letter, Sin, one letter, Mim, one letter, Alif, one letter, Lam, and on and on and on. So for each letter, you will be credited, you'll be given a good deed. But this good deed is multiplied by 10. So just imagine you read Surah Baqarah. Let me take it simple. Let's imagine you read Surah Fatiha. Count all the letters. I don't know, I can't remember how much letters in that surah. But if you count every single letter and then you multiply it by 10. Okay, so tomorrow I will ask somebody to do it. Anybody can do it and tell us how much letters and make sure they multiply it by 10. And you'll understand the amount of blessings that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has attached to the book. It's studying the book, reciting the book, pondering on the book. You know, I'm trying to capture its meaning and its understanding. The Quran is a book that is motivational. It is a help in times, critical times that we face in our life. Abu Umama radiallahu an narrated that the Prophet of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, recite the Quran because it will come as an intercessor for the one who recites it. It will be an intercessor for him on the day of resurrection. Hadith can be found in Muslim. So the Prophet Sallallahu told us that this Quran is an intercessor, one who will plead and beg on our behalf before our Lord on the day of judgment. So there's benefit in the book. This book will stand as a witness for you in a critical time that you may need it. So don't think that these things of reading the Quran, these things come back. Okay, these things is not a wasted action. You didn't waste your time. Okay, reciting the book. Okay, you didn't waste your time. because you will see the rewards of that in this world in terms of guidance, and in the next world in terms of this book will ask Allah, will beg Allah on your behalf. If we do not come up to scratch on the day of judgment, this book, the Quran, will intercede for us. It will become an intercessor. And Nawas ibn Sim'an, radiallahu anha, narrated that the Prophet of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, on the day of Qiyamah, the Quran will be brought with its people who acted according to it in this world. The surahs Al-Baqarah and Al-Imran will be at the front arguing on behalf of their devoted reciters. Muslim. Can be found in Muslim. On the day of resurrection, the Quran will be brought in whatever form. Allah knows best how Allah will bring that Quran. We don't know. We're not talking about this Quran printed in this world by Medina print or by this or by that. Or what can be found on Amazon? But the Quran that you were reciting, the book that comes from Allah, will be brought forward on the day of judgment, and the people who used to recite it, okay, all the people who were regular reciters of the book, may Allah make us among those people. Ameen. And at the front of this procession will be Surah Baqarah and Al Imran, who will be arguing before their Lord Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala on behalf of the reciters. They'll be pleading and begging and interceding on your behalf. All those who used to recite it, okay, these two surahs will be your advocates on the day of judgment on your behalf. So what I'm saying, what I would like to add is that, remember, nothing goes, okay, to waste. Nothing you do in Islam, your charity, your smile, your good advice to somebody, your how you treat your brother and your sisters, how you act, how you behave with your parents, how you behave with your wife, how you behave with your children, how you behave towards your fathers and your mothers. Every single thing is not wasted. Okay? And one of the imams one of the imams, which are the great grandsons of Ali, I think is I can't remember. I don't want to say which one of them, but he was speaking to an atheist, and the atheist was saying that he don't believe in any God, or he didn't believe in anything like that, So he didn't argue with him. He said, look, if there's no God, if I die and there's no God, if we die, if all of us here we die and there's no God, you say, then the best I can say, at least I've lived a good life. Because if we live according to the tenets of Islam, we have lived a good life. We were not oppressors of ourselves and of people. Okay, we function well. But he said, if you die and you meet a deity, Allah, then you will be in severe problems. You'll be in severe problems. So that is to say, there's no loss. There's no loss. Your deeds will benefit you in this world, and your deeds will benefit you in the next world. So Abu Huraira reported that the Messenger of Allah said, Salam, whenever a group of people assemble in the houses of Allah, reciting the book of Allah, studying it, tranquility descends upon them. Mercy covers them. Angels surrounds them. And Allah makes mention of them among those who are with him. I mean, I encountered this hadith, very early, in Islam, and it's a very deep hadith. It's always been a deep hadith to me. That imagine, if we sit together to recite the book, or to discuss the book, or to study the book in the masajids, in the houses of Allah. Tranquility, salam and ease descends on those people who are involved in that exercise. Mercy covers these people. And angels attend such sessions. But we can't see them. We can't see them. But based on your levels, okay, your heart will give you some indication of some presence, as we like to say, vibes. We just put everything under a short word, vibes. What we mean that our spiritual inner being is affected and we feel different. If something happens that we can't explain, when we are engaged in these kind of exercises. And I mean, the angel meet and greet us, but we cannot see them. Okay? So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, if you want to sit with angels, if you want to sit where mercy falls on you like rain, if you want to sit where tranquility falls on you like rain, then sit in the circle of study of Quran, those who recite the Quran, those who teach the Quran. Okay? These spiritual benefits, okay, falls on us who do these things. And not only that, okay, there's an added blessing. Allah will make mention. Abdullah, Amira, Muhammad is reciting my book amongst other people. They're reciting the book of Allah. And Allah will mention you amongst the company of the highest angels, the chiefs of the angels, the highest gathering. Your name will be mentioned. Just imagine that. Okay, your name will be mentioned in a high gathering that you don't even perceive. You don't even know that this is what is happening while you are engaged in your studies and your recitation of the Book of Allah. Abdullah ibn Abbas narrated that the Prophet of Allah ﷺ said, an individual or a person, who has nothing of the Quran in his heart is like a ruined house. It's like an old, decrepit house. Okay? A person who has nothing of the Quran in his heart is like an old breakdown, destroyed, gloomy shack, like a ruined house. Okay? It is nothing good lives in. You cannot live in it. So try and memorize as much of the Quran as you can, because none of us want to be a decrepit house. None of us want to look spiritually, in our spiritual, in the spiritual realm, we look like places that no one lives, no one wants to live. With the old houses you see people avoiding, where the pipers go and sleep and people do all kind of stuff in it. So we don't want to be that kind of house. So remember of much of the Quran. If it is the last 10 surahs, or with Fatiha, or just Qul Huwa Allahu Ahad, As, Kawthar, learn. At least have some Quran in your heart. Okay? Have some Quran in your heart and improve your spiritual, the spiritual aspect of your life will be represented, as a place wholesome, and a house that is nice. It attracts, okay, good things. People, just by looking at it, people say, look at that good house. Okay, people admire the house. Even those who do not live in it admire it. It attracts good things, good vibes, I would say again. Abu Musa al-Ash'ari narrated that the Prophet of Allah said, keep refreshing your knowledge of the Quran, because I swear by the one in whose hand is the soul of Muhammad, it is more liable to escape from the memory than camels that are not hobbled. So Prophet said, continue refreshing your knowledge of the book. Okay? When you learn a surah, recite it, understand it, ponder on it, learn everything about it, when it was revealed, what is this topic, what is the guidance it is pointing to. Keep it fresh, refresh. Because the Quran is very easy to escape from our memories. Okay, it is so easy, like a camel that you have not hobbled. Now, that black piece of rope type of thing that the Arabs wear around their head, okay, that they use that to hobble the camel, because if you have a camel and you come off the camel and you do not hobble it, they take that black type rope type and they tie it around the both legs, the front legs of the camel. Because if they don't do that, the camel will just walk away and go its way. That's the nature of camels. If you don't tie it, it will just walk and go its own way. If you tie it, it stays there. So the Quran is like a camel that you have not hobbled, you have not tied it down. If you don't tie it down, it will just go its way. So the Arabs understood this because they were masters of the camels. Okay, so we have to, for us, it have to be explained. What do they mean by hobble? It means to tie down the camel so that they will not stray. Okay, very important. So we have to keep on refreshing our memory of the Quran, because it is very easy to go out from us. Abdullah ibn Umar narrated that the Prophet of Allah said, envy is not justified, but in two cases regarding two persons. The first person is one who has been given knowledge of the book of Allah. He recites it during the night and the day. The second person is a man who has been given wealth by Allah, and he spends it during the night and day in a way that pleases Allah. So we know that envy is a negative quality. Okay? Envy is a negative quality. And there's other sayings of the Prophet ﷺ where he said that envy is not justified except in this case or that case. If somebody envy you, but they do not want what you have to leave you, they envy you because they want what you have to be like you, or that quality that you have it. Okay, if you envy somebody, but you don't want to ruin them, you want that quality which you envy, you want to achieve that also. That is a permissible envy. So like one who has been given knowledge of the book of Allah, and he recites the book of Allah night and day. One who's given knowledge of the book and he recites it. He's diligent in it. You do not want that quality to leave the person. Okay, but you want to share in that quality. That is a permissible envy. Also, a man who has wealth. A man who has wealth. And he spends his wealth night and day. He's very generous. So you can say, boy, I really envy this man. I wish I could be like that. You're not envy him to crush him, or that you want that quality to leave that person. But you want that quality also to be part of your character. Okay, but all of this must be with the intention of fisabilillah. You want it to, to improve your relationship with Allah and for him to be pleased with you. So these are some of the hadiths that are concerned with the book of Allah. Now we are going to look at dhikr. We are going to look at dhikr. And dhikr is highly valued in Islam. Remembering Allah. Remembering Allah. That is dhikr. To bring Allah into remembrance and to be frequent about it. And it's a very easy act of worship. It's very easy. And it is an act that the Prophet ﷺ used to say. The Prophet has been described as somebody who used to remember Allah at all times. Sitting, standing, even when you are involved in merchandise, you are involved in business, you remember Allah all the time. You sit and you remember Allah. Okay, in everything that you do, you remember Allah. If you look at the life of a Muslim, when we eat, we remember Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. When we enter the toilet, remember Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Everything we do, we're supposed to be constant remembering Allah. Even if, when our pockets run dry, we don't go crazy. We don't go into despair. We remember that Allah is our Razak, that Allah is going to replenish our pockets. You know, all the obstacles that you meet in life, you should bring that sifat, that description of Allah into your life. If you are going through hardship, you call on Allah, the one Al-Fatah, the one who makes things, who open the way. You know, if we're going through fright, we call on Al-Qadir, you know, the one who is powerful to bring us out of this situation. So we must know these names of Allah, and we must implement them in our life. The Prophet ﷺ said that the Muslim should color himself with the characteristics of Allah. Allah is merciful, be mercy. Be merciful. Allah is mu'min, one who guards, you know, the Islam. Okay, so you have to be mu'min, you guard your faith. Okay, salam, peaceful. Adil, just. You know, you can bring alive in your life the various sifats of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Dhikr as the best deed. Abu Darda reported that the Messenger of Allah said, "Shall I inform you of the best of your actions? Number one, the purest in the sight of Allah, which raises your rank to the highest, which is better for you than spending gold and silver, better than meeting your enemy, so that you strike at their necks and they strike at yours." They reply, "Yes, indeed." And he said, "Dhikrullah." It is the remembrance of Allah. This hadith can be found in At-Tirmidhi. Okay? And this is a topic people just go into senseless arguments about. Okay? Dhikr Allah is a high deed of Muslims. Okay? It raises your rank. Right? It is the best of action according to our Prophet. It is the purest in the sight of your Lord. It raises your rank to the highest. Okay, but unfortunately, with the rise of you know, that regime from Riyadh, okay, which the Prophet ﷺ said that the horn of Shaitan is in that place. The horn of Shaitan is in that place. And that horn will butt the Muslims. He didn't say do you want me to butt the Muslims? I am telling you, that horn has been butting the Muslims. And one of the attacks of that horn is on Tasawwuf. Okay? You know, we know that Muslims have strayed in everything. Muslims have strayed in jihad. Muslims have strayed in Tasawwuf. You name it. People take advantage of marriages. Everything in Islam, people have corrupted it. But it does not mean that that thing is not good. Find out what is good about it. Okay, so one of their first attack, the first one they attacked, you know, were the people of Dhikr. That is the first one they attack. Okay, because the people of Dhikr were always at the forefront of spreading Islam. It's the people of Dhikr who converted most of Africa. Okay, it's the people of Dhikr who went into Africa, found the people worshipping snakes and serpents, and found people under the bondage of jinns. And because that man of Dhikr went there and he destroyed the jinns, and a whole lot of people enter the deen of Islam. Okay, a lot of people forget these things, and you have these foolish black nationalists saying, well, "Oh, we force people to Islam." No, a lot of people enter Islam because they saw the power of the Dhikr by simple men and women coming to their communities and changing the lives of the people by taking them out of the bondage to superstition and all these kind of things. You know, so we have to be careful. Okay, we want to recover all aspects of Islam. We don't want to leave off anything. Okay, so we should hold our tongue, okay, about, people who are involved in this, because that was the first thing the colonizers did to cut us off from the life ban of Islam. Because other than that, you'll be just dry. And if you look at the people who follow that concept from Riyadh, they have no, one thing I've noticed amongst them, they have no rahmah. They have no mercy. The Islam, is picky. They watch at you as a Muslim and look for faults. Something wrong with your beard, something wrong with your khimar, something wrong with your hijab, something wrong with your shoes, something wrong with your pants. They when they look at the Muslim, they look for faults. And that is not the proper Islam. The proper Islam is an Islam of encouragement. We encourage people, to worship Allah. It's not an Islam of harshness. The Prophet, Allah said in the Quran that if he was harsh, people will run away from him. And Aisha said that if the Prophet Islam had taught people to stay away from women and drink, nobody will follow him. But he ignored the weaknesses of the people and called them to the Tawheed. When somebody understand the Tawheed and understand Allah and develop that relationship with his Lord, he himself or she self will do away with those things without you even telling them. That is what I have found in my life. That, that's why when somebody took Shahada, I say, all I tell that person, learn to pray. First thing, learn to pray. After the Shahada, right? Bunyal Islamu ala khamsin, build your Islam on khams, on 5 things, right? Shahadatan, the 2 shahadas, and after what? Salah. Establish of the Salah. Ikam is Salah, okay? And establish the prayer, because that prayer, it builds your connection with your Lord. It wakes up your heart, because it is also a dhikr. Your Salat is a dhikr, is a physical reminder of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Okay, so we can go into that and talk for days, but I don't want to do that. I don't want to punish you for, your iftar is approaching. So all I like to say is that I'll recount the hadith. It is the best of your action, the purest in the sight of your Lord. It raises your rank to the highest, which is better for you than spending gold and silver. So it is better than even zakah. It is better than jihad, because jihad is supposed to be fi sabilillah. And fi sabilillah means your heart has to be alive. And to be fi sabilillah, you must be in dhikrullah. That is why the people of Tasawwuf, I don't even like to use the word Sufi, because that has too much connotations, negative connotations, by these same people who have made propaganda to weaken the strongest element of the Muslim forces, both as army and missionaries, to carry the deen, right? The people of Tasawwuf, it is even stronger, because all your good actions, spending the way of Allah, paying your zakat, making hajj, all these things depends on the root. The root Islam is the Dhikrullah. Because what are you doing all this for? You didn't all this for Dhikrullah. Okay, so it is the root. So it is even higher than those who strike the necks of people, those who engage in jihad, or who have their neck strike or become shaheed. Okay, and they said, yes, indeed, tell us for sure. He said, Dhikrullah. Okay, so we have to be careful where and who and from whom we take our deen. This is something that we have to be careful, because if you have lived as long as some of us has lived, we have seen all kind of nonsense. that people say this is deen and that is deen. So sometimes you see a lot of crap coming because Allah allow us to live so long that we can identify some of the nonsense. Okay, so it is good to listen to the elders and learn from their experiences, because we went through a lot of nonsense and we come out of it and we know, well, that is not working, this is working, that is not working, over there working, So and if somebody went through all of that and still haven't learned anything, may Allah help them. Subhanakallahumma bihamdik, nashhadu an la ilaha illa ant, nastaghfiruka wa natubu ilayk. So any questions? Any questions, please? Okay. No questions. Alhamdulillah. Tomorrow we'll continue. There's another couple of hadiths on Dhikrullah, and we'll continue.
No, another question, because joining late, I'm at the mosque now, and I missed majority. Sorry about that.
Well, the thing is, because of technology, we can always go back to the classes if we miss anything, inshallah. Okay.
Inshallah.
So tomorrow we will continue. Okay. Concerning Dhikrullah, because the last 10 days, these are the activities you involve yourself. Increase. You increase your Quran. You increase your dhikr. You increase your sadaqah. Okay. So I'm just touching on these elements. Okay. And you increase your knowledge.
Inshallah.
Okay, so see you tomorrow, inshallah. And I think we are approaching the last 10 days. So tie your waist and get ready. Inshallah. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum.